This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. If you've only just joined us on Rumble and you just missed 20 minutes on Tube, sorry, I'm calming down a bit. Makes me angry what's happening in the media. Makes me embarrassed that I've spent so much of my life thinking I was working in something that was doing good for people. And I'm sure when I got into it, it was. It's been perverted in the last 25 years at least then. And it upsets me because I love radio. Live and breathe it. And it makes me upset that the accountants have control. They have no heart. And we're going to do something about that, folks. What do you feel about the Australian mainstream media getting a whole 12-month, 100% tax rebate? All for going along with the COVID farce. That's how our government has bribed our media. Now, you think of every one of those stars that comes up on your television, every newsreader, every pissant bloody actor and all that sort of shit that comes up on there. You think of every one of them has a manager, and every one of them is aware that there is this huge windfall coming, this huge tax-free windfall, plus another $15 million or thereabouts thrown into the kitty just for good measure. Our money, the government has given to these bastards who claim to do great things for the community, and yet tonight still there are families living rough in and around Lismore, still recovering from the engineered flooding of a year ago nearly, and wondering whether or not they're going to do it all again to them this year. How many people were left dead in the roofs of houses in Lismore? How many people are still suffering from having to be the person that drags those bodies out, that discovers them? Because there was no police. There was no SES. There was no help. If memory serves, when the SES turned up, they stopped everybody who were SES members who hadn't had the bloody jab from going to help. And what did the people do? They got in their own boats. They put their own fuel in. They risked their own lives to go out and save others. Didn't matter whether you were jabbed or not. They saved many lives that day, or those days, because it was days, weeks in some places, many lives. There was a huge media outpouring that got subverted. The cameras went away. People forgot about it. The cleanup kept going. But there are still families suffering mentally, physically, financially, living on the streets of Lismore and around northern New South Wales. Now, our media companies could help fix that with this big windfall that they're getting, this tax-free money. I can tell you, radio stations give nothing away that clients don't pay for. Okay? Advertising clients. So, radio stations have very good relationships with many of their clients. So good they can pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, need some money. No, it's not for the local community. We're going to band together with the rest of our network across the country. And we are going to raise funds for the building of homes for those people who are still suffering terribly in Lismore and around. How about we try that? How about we ask them to use all of their ill-gotten gains, all of the blood money they are being paid, to be put to good use of the people. Prove to us you are the media of the people. They're not. They won't come near that. It'll be the house that one of them built, and they'll build one fucking house. And they'll march on that, and they'll get publicity out of that, and they'll have TV cameras there. And at some point in October, they'll win an award as the best radio promotion in the country for the year. And then they'll go back to their clients and say, look what we won. We've got to do that again next year. Our mainstream media. I am just utterly disgusted. Saddened beyond belief. Utterly disgusted that this is how they perform. And I know a lot of them. I know all the names of the people that run these companies. We will talk. We will talk. I don't care if you own the smallest network in the country or if you own the largest. I know who you are. I know how you work. I know how you think. And I know what triggers you. I know how the system works. And I know you can shut me out of it. But all you're going to do is shut yourselves out of it, because I will expose you for what you are. The bloody leeches sucking on our money and doing fuck all to help the people that need it most in this community. You're helping yourselves. And you're doing it on the deaths of others that you've helped propagate. I am disgusted beyond belief at you. And Ben Fordham, breakfast announcer at 2GB in Sydney, who today had Cooker on his show from Cooker Watch, gave them a great plug on Twitter and let her have her say, which was great. That's all well and good. I have no problem with her having a say. What I find disgusting about Cooker Watch is the fact that they will attack our veterans. What I find disgusting about Cooker Watch is that they take the most basic possible understanding of what the freedom movement is about and distort it. What disgusts me about Cooker Watch is that they are too stupid to understand that the words sovereign and citizen do not go together. But maybe they're not stupid. Maybe they know that being a sovereign is one thing and a citizen is something else completely, and the two cannot come together because that would be an oxymoron. Maybe they know that, and just maybe they're being paid to keep, the normies thinking about it that way. I mean, that's a pretty reasonable assumption to make. And having heard her today, her level of knowledge, particularly in the common law sphere, the fact that they take great leaps and suggest anybody pushing a sovereign tune or wishing to talk common law is in fact just trying not to abide by any laws. Absolute lies. Absolute 100% solid misinformation. And 100% exposure of the complete lack of research and knowledge that the man being paid over $1 million a year to do breakfast radio in Sydney on 2GB, the number 2 breakfast radio program, I think behind Kyle and Jackie O, to speak intelligently about it. And yet he can't be bothered to research it enough to figure out that sovereign citizen is an oxymoron and, well, quite a few other inaccuracies that he portrayed in today's program. Now, if you missed the show earlier, I'll tell you again. Ben Fordham can be reached at 2gb.com. If you go there, you'll see there's a feedback page. Click on it. It'll ask you what presenter you want to get feedback to. Click on Ben Fordham. If Ben seriously wants to have a talk about sovereigns and citizens and wants to talk about it professionally, then let's do that. But let's not leave anything off the table. Let's talk about the mainstream media. Let's talk about the 1 year, 100% tax-free rebate that his bosses are going to get, and he will share in when it comes to contract renegotiation time, provided his ratings are still going okay. I don't know, if you're in Sydney, listen to Ben Fordham. Don't know that I'd be filling in any ratings books or crowing about it much. I would have thought, I've never met Ben, but I did have a bit of respect for him. He has a very good supposed standing in the industry and very credible with Channel 9 and yada, 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 yada. But now he's just revealing himself as, you know, one of the puppets that's going to be paid off really well, one of the puppets that probably got the saline, you know, one of the elites, one of the parasites. I'm saddened for that. I'm not surprised, but I'm saddened if that is the case. But anyway, I've asked him to come on this show if he'd like to have a chat. I've said I'm prepared to come on his if he'd like to have a chat about common law and maybe explain what sovereign means and what citizen means, and that there are no people aiming to run around in a lawless society doing whatever they like, whenever they like, to whomever they like. If he's interested in that kind of a conversation, then he has my number, he has my email address, but maybe you can give him yours too. Why don't you email him? Ask him to come on The Voice of Freedom. Happy to have him. Certainly, if indications are anything to go by, there's every chance I've got more viewers than he has listeners. So, you know, I don't know if it's a comparable audience or not. Maybe it's not. I don't really care. The listeners or viewers that we do have through The Voice of Freedom would be very interested, I'm sure, to have Ben come on and try and explain his understanding of what's going on. We'd be more interested to hear what he says the next time he gets on his show and seeing whether or not he can explain what he's heard and learned, because we'll be sure he understands it. But will he explain it? I have my doubts. Just between you, me, and the gatepost, I have my doubts. Sunflower, Jojo, Sudsy's in the house. Haven't seen Sudsy in a while. Just me and Skippy. People are jabbing, the truth comes out. Yeah. Yeah, when that happens, mate, we're all going to be ducking for cover. There is all sorts of shit. Oh, Guru was on 2GB Monday morning with Ben Fordham. Oh, well, there you go. That'll be fucking amazing. Yeah. Well, I don't know that that's exactly the way we want to present it, but anyway. Good luck to Guru. Let him do it. Let's get into tonight's show, shall we? God, I'm horrified at that thought. But anyway, let's just see how it goes. All right, we did say we were going to talk about Chris tonight, and not about Chris. We're going to talk to Chris. That would be Starseeds and Patriots of Down Under. My good friend.
How are we, everyone? Great to be with all of you tonight. Oh,
and Australia Day for you. Okay. And Australia Day for you.
Very quiet, actually. Very quiet. It was awesome. I didn't do anything as such. I don't go celebrating Genocide Day.
No. All right. There you go. We bring Bob in. Now, Bob, I'm disheartened, dismayed, and very upset to learn that you have done a nasty to your knee.
Yes.
Mate,
yeah, and unfortunately working too hard and did it climbing out of the trap.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, that'll happen. They are fairly tall, and you do have to twist around a bit to get in and out of them, don't you?
Yeah. The job that I do, I'm in and out of my truck anything up to 50, 60 times a night.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But hopefully for not too much longer. So.
Thank you, Sudsy. I agree with that. Guru will kill him, mate. It'll be great. Good luck to him. All right, boys. So tonight, I've had me rant about bloody radio. Gives me the shits at the way these bastards are doing this. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see whether or not they come to the party. They're not going to, and I fear for what's going to happen Monday morning. But anyway, we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, talking on that too. You mean, Guru might have got a step closer to it, but at the end of the day, he's still got to be put in front of him, and that still get declined very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So although it's a step forward, it may also be a step back, people.
Exactly. Yep. Could be very cautious on these grounds.
Oh, yeah, cautious is a very good word. Very good word. Boys, tonight, I was getting all geared up because we were going to see a whole heap of Playboy pictures. But, you know, as it turns out, it wasn't the kind of Playboy pictures that many people might be thinking we were going to watch, and particularly being on Rumble. And, of course, 71 Valiant, I love your style. Sorry, I'm reading two chat screens at the same time here. So
I can sort of imagine some of the comments that are probably there. Some old books behind the back of the toilet, sort of thing. Or
there are some interesting comments. And right now we're currently running on 2, 3, 4 platforms, 5 platforms, and I'm only seeing two lots of comments. So it'll be interesting to go back and have a look back later and see what's been said anyway. So look, Hugh Hefner, as I call him in my typing, I've got to get over this fat finger disease. Hugh Hefner died a little while ago.
Fucking put it up.
Was the owner of the Playboy Mansion, instigator of the Playboy magazine, the Playboy clubs around the world, and some say a child sex trafficker. I don't know if he was into child sex, but certainly I think he may well have been involved in some nefarious sorts of actions over the years. There was talk that he was initially funded by the CIA, I think.
Yes.
Is that something you guys want to allude us on?
Well, I'll put you out of your misery. We, back in my dealings, back when I was with the Air Force, because I had the misfortune of having to track a couple of high-profile celebrities and businessmen, and their initial contact started with the name of them has just gone out of my head, but if you can imagine, there's in effect 2 Playboy mansions. Well, actually, there's 3. So you've got the Playboy mansion itself that everyone knows, but you've also got 2 others. One is set up for men, and one is actually set up for women. Now, these particular places are set up for those that aren't so familiar, let's put it that way, or high profile.
Yep.
Or you're up and coming, let's put it that way. Still got relatively nice women that may not quite be to the grade required in the mansion, in Playboy Mansion, but all the nefarious acts, satanic rituals are done in these places. And what's worse is many of the people that come into these places, they actually are brought in under the guise of religion.
Yep.
You've actually got sort of like their caretakers or your
handlers,
as it were, that look after everything. These people, they use religion in its worst form. They will start to introduce the girls and boys into drugs so they can be, molded or more conformant, when the nefarious acts need to take place. Now, when I was there, the dealings that they had, these places were also linked with tunnels. So if they had the real high flyers, if they needed to have them taken out the back and taken to an underground theatre and the like for a satanic ritual, then it can all be done out of sight, out of mind. The Playboy Mansion itself was an absolute hive of drugs. Didn't matter what you wanted, if whether heroin was your thing, speed, LSD, you just go to any of those three mansions and you could get anything that you wanted. Now, the reason for it is because the CIA were involved. Very, very much so. And if you understand a lot of America's drug problem, then you'll actually understand that the CIA has a massive hand in it. Absolutely massive hand.
The movie Air America is pretty much spot on, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. If you sort of start to understand that the likes of a part of Vietnam, the Afghanistan war, they're just two straight off the bat that all involved drugs.
Yep. And Iraq was weapons.
Yes. And the other part of Iraq too was actually destroying of ancient ruins.
Yeah.
Which not a lot of people actually knew. And that this is ISIS. That is actually one of their main focuses, is to go in and actually destroy the old artifacts so people cannot understand or know what their true history is.
Yep.
Because all that area is rife with your true knowledge. But anyway, coming back to Mr. Hefner, so CIA, massive presence. Now, Hugh Hefner himself, very, very interesting bloke. He was a CIA operative. He would get directed from above if there was a particular person that they needed to secure, let's put it that way. They would be invited into the mansion, and they would get drugged, they would get boozed up, whatever, and photos would be taken.
So this sounds to me like it's an American version of Robert Maxwell.
Yes.
Paper tycoon in the UK, father of Ghislaine Maxwell.
Israeli Mossad agent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Chris, a lot of people are saying, can we get you to turn your microphone down a bit, because we're hearing everything from every nostril hair quivering in your nose every time you take a breath.
Sure, buddy.
To whatever. So if you can back that out a bit. And Bob, can you speak up a
cool.
bit? I think that's the other bit.
Oh, yeah.
So Robert,
is that better, guys?
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, is that any better, folks?
Well,
actually,
we'll just keep talking. Steak and Kidney says there's 260 people watching live on Rumble at the moment and 52 on YouTube. I do have it on one sneaky channel on YouTube. It's one that if I lose it, I'll lose it. But I just thought, I'll see how many people. And it's not one of the larger YouTube channels I have. It's on Voice of Freedom at the moment. So we are streaming there, but it's not on None 2K or on the other one. There you go. Yeah. Hang that from the light, maybe.
The microphone is creating nostril hairs.
Is that what it is? Well, now we can barely hear you now. So you might have to bring it a little bit closer.
Better, guys? How's that?
Say again.
Is that better, guys?
That's better.
Yeah. And am I any better, a little bit louder?
Yes, you're a stunningly, deeply attractive voice with no head.
Beautiful.
It's going
my dulcet tones.
Yes, indeed. Sorry to interrupt with technical difficulties. Thank you for the news, Steak and Kidney. And I don't know if 260 people watching live on Rumble is good or not, but thanks for watching. That's great. More the merrier. Spread the news. Does it even have a like button? Whatever you do on YouTube, hit that button and like it. Might get a few more people coming to watch. Maybe we'll have something a little interesting to discuss a bit further on. Yet you don't know what the next topic might be. Sorry, back to what Hugh Hefner was doing with the CIA. I beg your pardon.
Yeah. So, so Hugh Hefner, very, very much a CIA operative. And he would take photos, etc., of people, and then that would then be used for blackmail. Some of these people include very, very high rolling top executives, and these photos, seriously, they would be passed out, some through to the mafia, some to the Masonic connections, because Hugh Hefner did actually have Masonic connection. I don't quite know if he was a 33rd, Freemason, but the definite connections there. Now he has ruined many of the girls' lives. And the suicide rate for those poor girls was as high as 30%.
Yeah.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah,
yes,
that's true.
Very, very, very high. Some of the things that they were subjected to is absolutely disgusting. And to turn around and say it was sick is just an absolute understatement. Now, if you sort of start to really get into the Masonic ideals and that sort of thing, you start to get a real picture of the man. Now, what is not known is he actually preferred sodomy. Now, when you start to get into the Masonic stuff, you actually start to understand that sodomy, especially for younger women and boys, they believed was actually a connection in order for them to help bring through the nefarious entities.
That's right.
So this, and this was done in quite a ritualistic fashion, but again, all behind closed doors. There were only a couple of areas within the mansion which, were not bugged with cameras and microphones. And Hugh Hefner's room was one of them.
That's right.
But however, things like the I'm trying to think, is the little grotto that he had out the back, the swimming pool, that sort of thing, that had as many as 12 cameras in it. So it didn't matter where you were, you pretty much had an all-round view.
Yeah.
And if you actually look very, very carefully at the grotto, you will also start to pick up the Masonic symbols within
Symbolism. That's right.
And that was one place that the sodomy used to take regular occurrence. And
that's right.
And then if you sort of start to understand from that, you have the porn channels. A lot of the girls that were out of Playboy or out of the other mansions that didn't quite make that, then they would actually get into the porn industry in order to start funding drug habits, their lifestyles, etc., that they had now grown accustomed to. And it literally was just a self-fulfilling sort of organization. And these poor people, they either burnt out, died of drug overdoses later on. I mean, the life expectancy of many of them, 30, 35, maybe 40 if you're lucky. Any of the older girls, they were generally the very, very strong ones. And now, I mean, some of the stuff as names and whatnot, I can't quite go to yet.
I can throw one in there.
Now, I mean, some of this, I mean, I don't want to upset white hat operations.
That's right.
I mean, I've been dealing with this stuff for 30 years now. As I said, these guys, they want to get the lot. So full name disclosure. Yeah, not always possible at this stage, but
That's right.
I will say to you people, this is absolutely far and wide and a lot further than you can ever imagine. And these are the people that run some of your largest corporations. These are the sick bastards that are on, radio, TV personalities, sports stars, politicians. They're all in there.
They're all getting paid. They're all getting a
Absolutely
bonus.
they are. Absolutely they are. And the money and the backyard deals that happen in there, some of it you just can't get your head around. I mean, some of the nicer looking girls, they would inadvertently get themselves led into human trafficking, because that also happened. Get themselves a good enough drug addiction, and then they would be sent pretty much anywhere in the world.
Wow. That's okay. That's a lot, isn't it?
It is.
And considering that the Playboy mansions and clubs around the country were such desired places in the 60s to be seen, the it clubs, it was a beautiful honeypot. The swinging skis, that whole kind of thing. You mentioned the tunnels. Well, we know that there's at least one of those tunnels goes to Warren Beatty's, another one goes to Jack Nicholson's properties up there in the hills. There are, I think, as you said, Bob, a huge network of tunnels underneath there going to various different places, and a train, and where does that train come from? That train comes from the port system of LA, because that's where they bring them in. And that is if you like, the junction for that is under a certain hotel in downtown Los Angeles, not far from Anaheim, in fact.
Yep, that's right.
Yep. So it's a nasty, nasty bit of work. Have you got more on that for us, Bob? Or
the other side to that too is the actual company itself was also a money laundering front.
That's correct.
Where they could actually quite happily launder money, essentially from companies that would supposedly pay for advertising.
Right.
And we're talking, millions. And this is back in the in the days where $1 million actually was a serious chunk of change.
That's right.
And and then of course those other companies could then go through and claim it as a tax expense, and reclaim money off taxes that at the end of the day you and I are the ones paying for. So very, very much a scam in itself. And huge front for all sorts of nefarious activities.
Guardian, if all things claimed were true, why wouldn't someone have seen some proof by now? Guardian. We have. Why do you think we're talking about it? There is plenty of proof available. We can bring up pictures, I suppose. We can go and find them all again, source it all again. We can do all that sort of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, we're not being sued for what we're saying.
That's right.
And we're saying some pretty harsh stuff. We're accusing them of some pretty serious shit. We're not being sued because we can back it up. There is proof. You can find it. We have no special secret powers to go and find it. All you got to do is be a little bit dedicated, go hunting, ask more questions than you accept the answers you find.
That's right.
Well, in actual fact, the Guardian, I do believe the Netflix even put out a documentary series on it. And it doesn't quite go as far as some of what I've said, but that's all there, including the sodomy.
Yeah.
So go if you can't be bothered rattling your keyboard, mate, go and look at Netflix.
Yep. So it's
Well said.
not a matter of us making stories up. All this information, this intel, as people like to call it, a buzzword, is available to you. You may not have the time. I understand. You may not have the time to go and do it. You're out there working 16 hours a day to pay for your 5 kids, 3 cars, your overseas holiday, and your house. Or maybe you're just out there working 8 hours a day on the basic minimum wage, struggling your ass off trying to pay the friggin' electricity bill, while these other rich pricks are getting 12 months tax-free bonuses for propagating lies on the people. Sorry, I'm not going to get away from that. It's what our mainstream media are doing. So, yeah, Guardian, plenty of proof out there. You're not going to believe it if we were to show it to you. And we've shown plenty of it. Go and watch The Voice of Freedom on YouTube and have a look at all the videos. There is so much evidence in plenty of that. And we explain to you why it is evidence, because clearly people who have closed eyes are not seeing it for what it is. They don't see it clearly. Cognitive dissonance is a thing, and if you don't understand what cognitive dissonance is, go and look it up. Educate yourself. That is key here. Words mean things, and these bastards changed the meaning of these words, and they didn't bother telling us, particularly in a legal sense. Why we call it legalese. Will you stop whatever you're doing? I'm feeling everything in my headphones. Every time you tap on your foot on the floor, every time you scratch your skin, every eyelash blink, every keystroke, it's happening in my ears. There you go. That one comes from Mr. Bill Hilly.
I haven't got my microphone near me, mate.
Right, well, there you go. Not him, and it's not me. And
it's not me.
My
microphone.
Hey, Bill Hilly. Maybe you've got a bit of hair in your ears and it's rubbing against your speakers in your ear holes. And you shouldn't be wearing earbuds, people. You know those, things you shove. Not like Chris, although they're not very good, but the wireless ones. Do not shove those things in your head. Do not give them to your children. You are creating an arc right through their head.
Not just that, creating an actual brain tumor in their head as well from exposure.
Yeah, there is electromagnetic forces involved, very powerful ones in those earbuds. And,
that's right.
And they affect the brain. So, don't wear that shit.
If you actually go one step further, people, if you are of spiritual mind at all, if you actually look what's right between those two earbuds, and that is actually your pineal gland. And they are, and you're radiating it. So if you ever want to try and get to your your higher self, you're actually going the very wrong way about it.
Yep.
Because you're nuking it.
Yep.
If you can use it with a cord.
Got a lot of people who are throwing a lot of comments in at the moment on both the comment feeds that I can see. Paul is saying every time Chris moves, there is static. So I'm not hearing that at my end. So
I actually don't even have this plugged in now. I just pulled it out because of that last comment. So I'm actually bareback right now, straight from the microphone from the phone. So wherever the noise and feedback's coming from, it's on another end or an outside source.
You have a way with words. All right. Maybe it's me playing with this bloody pen. That's me tapping the table. Anyway, I'll try and stop moving. That'll make things easy. A lot of advice for Guardian, wasn't it, to go and check out Gene Decode. He has a lot of tunnel and whatnot.
Gene Decode, definitely. I recommend him. Definitely. Yep. Gene Decode, absolutely.
Yeah. And yes, Aussie Sue's 100% right. The rabbit hole is very deep. It's devastating, all backed by videos. And it is, and she's 100% right. It is not for the faint-hearted. If you suffer trauma from watching others suffer, you do not want to watch many of these videos. I've seen a lot, and I got a pretty strong stomach and pretty strong constitution. And yeah, I can see just about anything, but it's what you hear that'll haunt you.
Well, put this way, I've spent 15 years in the emergency services, and I've seen quite a bit. And and I would totally agree with Carl's last statement. Some of the things that I've seen come out of that mention, I am including human sacrifice. And to actually hear a person take their last breath in pain, it ain't pretty.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
It is the one curse of my job at that time to actually see some of this stuff and hear it. Believe me, folks, it does things to you that unless you are a very strong person, you will crumble. And you'll be a blithering wreck within minutes.
Yes. And those folks who are filled with cognitive dissonance, those people who do not believe what we're saying, we're tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. We are the cookers that Ben Fordham refers to. Well, another challenge for Ben Fordham. I'll show you Frazzle Drip.
Yeah, if they want a bit of spirit cooking, I can show them some spirit cooking if they want. I got plenty of photos of that stuff. I got files ready of that stuff ready to go.
I mean, I can certainly give them details on a few things. I mean, he may not have very many listeners listening after I finish with them.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think they're not going to put me on 2GB. They will put Guru, but they won't put me. And they won't put you. So no, well, and I understand their reason. Well, not their reasoning, but I understand their thought pattern because I've been part of it. I know how it works. So yeah, 100%. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to hear how Ben handles it. I don't think he'll be respectful, which is probably a bit of a worry. I would hope he's respectful to Dave because Dave is fighting the good fight, and because his car's buggered at the moment, he was out doing what he could on Australia Day to try and wake people up. And if that was, drawing messages in the sand, here, he could have been. Yeah, he could have been anywhere. He could have done anything. He could have gone and seen his grandchildren. He probably couldn't have because his car's buggered. He could have sat on a boat all day, stinking hot, fallen over the overboard occasionally, getting a bit of a dip, and suffering the curses and abuses of numpties who drive past where his boat is moored now that they know that's where it is and hurl abuse at he and Mel. No. Instead, he went out and happily tried to wake a few people up. Doesn't matter whether they woke up or not. He's out there trying. That's all any of us can do. And so I applaud his actions. Every bit of it. I went to my place, Singleton, and drank beer. It was a great time. Thoroughly enjoyed it. There was no drawing in the sand, although there was a few, well, it wasn't a game of cricket. It was more like a few balls in between drinks breaks. That's probably the best way of describing the cricket match. But bloody great day. Wonderful people. So, it was wonderful to be a part of all that at the new venue in Singleton. And thank you to Jay for hosting us for that. Absolutely awesome. Oh, you're bright light.
Bright light like bloody Gizmo. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. You're making people sick, walking around like that. Gives people vertigo when you start walking around with a camera. Did you know that? Just one of the professional secrets I'll teach you one day.
Oh, I actually and very much stand up for that one as well, mate. It's my first time I'll ever do that and the last time, mate. So I've actually noticed that on a couple of other things. Other people that do that, and I find it very unprofessional myself.
We lost you, mate.
Yep. You've put your finger over your microphone or something.
Yeah.
Okay, just having a bit of a glance down through some of the chats here. Yes, I can see. Yep. Okay. Yeah, Rosie's seen Frazzle Drip by the sound of it. So Ben Fordham. I don't know. Frazzle Drip's difficult to understand, I suppose. It's
Really?
It's a horrifying video. Difficult to understand, and there might well be I don't know. You could probably make the excuse that it's not clear enough to prove that it's Hillary Clinton in there or Uma Abedin. If you don't want to see it, you won't see it. So, yeah, that doesn't mean that it's not real. That doesn't mean that I want to see it, I'll see it. It's just obvious to me. But I've done a lot of...
already, Bob and Carl, but I got a nice known New South Wales premier that I showed Bob a few days ago from the Channel 10 report. It was on Channel 10 directly. It was right on their table. Mr. Frazzledrip himself.
Is that right?
I'm not kidding, mate. I got the photos upstairs right now.
Interesting.
Mate, with that in plain sight, that was speaking volumes to me when I saw that. 2 candles, glass of red, plate with meat.
Okay.
Yeah, and just meat.
Just meat. Yeah. You see that Kim Kardashian has come out against Balenciaga? My daughter told me about this. She may have done this weeks ago. I don't know. She was apparently one of the head people to push the product. And when the Balenciaga thing broke, was that just before Christmas or just after Christmas, whenever it was?
Just before Christmas, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's taken her a while, but apparently she's come out and distanced herself completely from the company, removed everything. There is a movement apparently on, I don't know if it's on TikTok or anywhere else, where people are cutting up $1,200 T-shirts from Balenciaga. Who in their right friggin' mind would pay $1,200 for a T-shirt that didn't have anything printed on it, but had a little tag hanging off one edge down the back? I mean, seriously. Isn't it a bit like looking at Walmart and saying, here's a pair of children's shoes for $8.50 and here's a pair of children's shoes for $13,500, or a children's wardrobe for $18,200. And if you click on that link, you'll get through to a child trafficking area where they'll eventually sort out whether that's what you're after or not.
Wayfair.
And that's how you buy your child online.
Wayfair was the biggest one for that.
Yep. There's a few like that. So anyway, yeah, there's a bit going on. Just having a bit of a glance down through. No, I won't explain it, Rosie. If people want to see or learn Frazzledrip, then it's out there.
Go and do your own research on that one.
Yeah, do your own research. There's no point in me telling you what you're going to see. But be aware, if you go down that rabbit hole, it's not one you can forget about.
Once you see it, you cannot unsee it.
Yeah. So
and it, as a stern warning to all those that do, if you think you have a bit of a queasy stomach, make sure you do not eat or drink prior, because there's a high chance that it'll be returning to you in quite a bit of speed. So
with prejudice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's horrifying, and there will be more of those that come out. John Podesta has a whole range of those videos, and he and his brother are were deeply involved in the child sex trafficking business. I'm pretty confident they've been dealt with now, and there is great. Yeah. And there is some great imagery that's come out in the last few days that seems to show Madeleine McCann beside or in between the Podesta brothers in a meeting about 4 years after she was taken, 4 or 5 years after she was taken. And
I'd actually like to add that, Carl, if I could, mate.
Yeah.
I've also shared a photo with Bob privately on the side of Mr. McCann with our ex-Prime Minister, Mr. Morrison, and a whole heap of red shoe wearing bastards in the same room in the same photo. Madeleine McCann's father wearing red shoes, same coloured pants, same coloured blazer, all red shoes wearing in the one photograph. Why is Madeleine McCann's father with Mr. Morrison?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's one I haven't heard.
I've got the photo. I'll show it. I got a lot of exposure ready to throw out there, mate, and I can't wait to do it with you and Bob.
We'll have a field day.
We do have plans, folks.
We'll be
We
kicking
do
field
have
goals
plans.
today.
We do have plans.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, but people have got to understand too. I mean, I was in the business of the speakiness 30 years ago, and the stuff is only just starting to come to light. And hence why I'm able to start really talking about it. And understand, folks, this is only the tip of the iceberg that is coming out now.
Yeah.
There are so many of these sick bastards out there, and the levels that they have gone to, many of them have literally sold their souls to the devil in order to get where they want, for money, for power. This is what you are, this is what you're facing.
Yep, absolutely. That's an interesting comment from Veronica. She came across a Christmas tea topper, an angel, for $50,000 on eBay.
Ooh.
Yeah. So they're the kind of things that you can find if you go looking. Just look for an outrageous price on something you would think is, that's just a mistake. But it's not a mistake. It's designed for the people who are looking to pay $50,000 for something. Yep. What are they going to pay $50,000 for? It's not good. So we've given you the warning, folks. Frazzle drip is not something you want to go into lightly. This is not something you bring up on a whim and say, let's have a look at that. You want to deeply consider that choice, because early on, when I've had frazzle drip now for a couple of years, early on somebody begged me to give it to them, and I resisted for some time. We talked about it. I explained, and they saw how raw it was with me still. I said I really didn't think that they were up for it. They essentially demanded, by the end of it, that I handed over, that they had to see it. So I did. And I sat there and watched it with them. $40, I reckon it took. 40 seconds. One of them was hysterical, disbelieving, but hysterical. The other one just was almost catatonic, disbelieving.
You can have that effect.
Yep, because and I stopped it before it finished, and they were traumatized by it, seriously traumatized by it, in 40 seconds. So, you want to be sure when you say, I'm tough, I can handle that. You want to be real sure, because the only one you're bullshitting to is yourself. So be honest with yourself. It's not a matter of being strong enough to watch it, right? That's not what this is about. Anybody can hit play. It's being strong enough to deal with it after you've watched it and still control the anxiety, control the trauma that you will suffer from watching it. And there is a lot of this shit around, right? That one just happens to have a couple of people of great interest in it. But there are others, movie stars, TV stars, all sorts of interesting, people we've idolized, particularly through our growing up years. And now, I suppose, for our kids who have, the music industry, particularly the American rap, hip-hop scene, to contend with, which is terribly violent and very demotivating in most cases. But anyway, that's our advice. If you're going to do a frazzle drip thing, really, really think about it and consider whether or not you seriously want to potentially traumatize yourself like that going forward. There are plenty of people around who've seen it who will describe it to you, and you can decide then if that's something you really want to see. You will be incredulous at their description of it. You won't believe that what they're describing is actually happening. But trust me, it is. And there are two, particularly involving Umar Abedin and Hillary Clinton, one in a motel room and one with a girl, 14-year-old girl, tied up against a tree in the middle of your forest somewhere outside of LA. So that one is equally as horrible, equally as terrifying, equally as traumatic. So be aware.
I was going to ask, Carl, the second one that you haven't mentioned, would that possibly be the one with the little girl?
The second one is a 14-year-old blonde girl who begs for her life and eventually knows that she's going to be killed in the most god-awful way. And it's quite shattering to hear.
When we do that presentation, I'll add to that because I have another. And I have the photos of before and after.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I want the Voice of Freedom to be something that traumatizes people.
No, unfortunately, they need, in order to know the light, they need to know the dark.
Yeah, I agree, but I'll be the decider on what goes on my channel, not you.
Absolutely. You're in charge.
I am not going to be responsible for traumatizing people who do not expect what's coming. I am preparing places where you will be able to go and watch this if that's what you want to do. But you will be warned. You will have to be warned. You will have to acknowledge the warning several times before you click on any file I provide you, because I'm not going to be made responsible for what happens to you after you watch it. So we'll talk about it here, but I'm not about traumatizing people. I'm about helping people. So there'll be none of that. If you want to go, if you want to see it, we will make it available. I'll find somewhere where you can go and click on it and see it. And if that's what you really want to do, but trust me, you'll spend a lot of time convincing me that you are ready to see it before I give it to you, because it's just awful. It's horrendous. Yes, it will, Bill. Yes, it will. The other interesting thing about Frazzle Drip is I don't keep a copy of it on any of my machines. All right, it's a snuff film. Right, at its most, it's a snuff film. The only thing that could possibly keep you out of jail for having a snuff film on your computer is the fact that you can identify the two people of great significance in it, and you probably want them brought to justice. And that might keep you out of jail. But who knows? The way our judicial system is bent, pay money, take your chances. That'll be my statement on that. So yeah, I'd be very careful about that. Yes, 100% right, Kristen. Enough is being slowly dripped out. Pictures at 10-sec videos. Yep, there are little bits coming out and out and out. You are seeing little chunks of much larger presentations at the moment. Some have suggested that some of these little clips we are seeing or beginning to see are coming from portions of these 8-hour, 8-hour movies that we're meant to be watching when the great reveal happens. So I don't know whether there's any truth to that or not. I don't know if that's really the case or not. But certainly there are a lot more eye-opening videos. If you are of a mind to have open eyes, there are a lot more eye-opening videos coming out, particularly in the last 2 weeks, particularly. And there are, I believe, a lot more coming in the next few days. I don't know. I don't have access to the Americans creating them, so I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, Elfern on Rumble. Yeah, they do absolutely horrible things. Why can't people deal with what they've seen? They're powerless to pay for what they've done. Yep. That's the whole thing. When you watch videos like this, there are a number of red pills you wind up having to confront, and some of them can be quite confronting. So yeah, be very aware if you're going down that road. I don't wish this on anyone. As most people are aware, once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and in my case, you can't unhear it. That's the thing for me. I can watch just about anything, but hearing it is very difficult. For whatever reason, that tends to stick with me. But anyway, we deal with it and we move on. We learn and we educate. That is what the Voice of Freedom is all about. A little bit of great education tonight on the Playboy front. I appreciate that. I didn't know a couple of the things that you put through there, so very interesting to learn that the tangled web of the mansion extended well outside of America, and certainly the influences today, I think, have been muted somewhat. The business is still selling magazines, but wasn't the mansion sold not all that long ago?
I believe it was, yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean the scope of where the Playboy mansion has gone. Yeah, I will say that in New Zealand and Australian politics and high level business, there are quite a number of high ranking CEOs, politicians, etc. They have been through the mansion. So, and these are people even serving today. So don't ever think that this is long past. He hasn't been dead that long. And yeah, there is very, very much people in power and controlling large companies today that have all been through that mansion. And yeah, sort of hearing a little bit of what's gone on, I'll put it to your own judgment, folks. They're not there to go and play tiddlywinks and backgammon. They're there for a lot more sinister reasons.
Yep, absolutely. All right, gentlemen, I think we might leave it there for our Friday night. I had a very big Australia Day, so I'm a little weary. And as somebody in the Rumble chat said earlier, I think it was Bill, said, "Oh, you're off for a lamb roast." No, I'm not. I'm off for a roast chicken dinner tonight. Cherie's been looking after me. She's done well. I mean, they've already eaten. Mine will be in the microwave, but it'll be all right.
Yeah, they've just had Jinderley come up on the chat there asking if Molly Meldrum was on the list. Yes.
Yes, he is. Unfortunately.
Yeah. One day I might do a show on Molly's place one day. I had an experience at Molly's house once. I was invited to a party, and we might have a night. Might have a Rumble chat about that party one night. For a young, very early in my radio career and naive country boy, it was an eye-opening party. I'll give you the drum.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And all those jokes that John Blackman used to make on Molly Meldrum on Hey Hey It's Saturday about his spa. Yeah, I wouldn't have got in it either. God knows what was living in that spa. So. But yeah, there's some interesting, very sad stories. And interestingly, there are some Australian musicians, very significant musicians, who are wanting to come out and talk about Countdown, Molly, the influence that he tried to exert over them, over their careers. And he was very powerful. Molly's owned record labels and done all sorts of things. He was, exceptionally powerful at one point in his career, still is today. And even though he's suffering from the brain injury after falling off the ladder, and clearly has belt issues, I mean, when I'm 78, I wonder if my ass is going to look that bad. I wonder if it looks that bad now. I thought he was wearing a skin suit. Did you see it? It was the weirdest ass I'd ever seen. Anyway, enough of that. Bob, thank you very much for joining us tonight. As always, please be safe. Will you look after your knee, mate?
I certainly will. I'm back to work on Sunday, so yeah, here's hoping I don't fall out of the truck.
Good luck to you, mate. I hope it goes well. We'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. And Chris O, you have a good one too, mate. You got a special day on tomorrow. All the best for that. I hope it goes marvelously well for you.
Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. It's going to be a wonderful day.
Yeah, I'm a wee bit jealous, but that's another story. Good on you, mate. Talk to you soon.
Have a great
Friday night free for all. That just about wraps it up. Little half a rumble night. It's been interesting. I'm sorry, I didn't plan to get off on a little tangent about radio and Ben and the tax-free bastardization bonus they're getting. But it's interesting. Monday morning's going to make interesting listening. I'm looking forward to hearing Dave put the arguments forward and seeing what happens. Over the weekend, we'll see what happens. We'll be hitting the road and at some point making our way back towards Queensland. There are a few things happening in the background at the moment. I suppose we can have a bit of a chat about. We are in the process of trying to get ourselves on the road and head, well, just about anywhere. Darren Bergwerf and I have been speaking extensively in the last few days about My Place and how we want to grow My Place in everywhere in Australia. Darren has a great plan. There is an awesome system involved to help you set up a My Place, and you'll get an awful lot of support, not just from myself and from Darren, but that support comes from every My Place already set up in Australia. Now, at the moment, we've got over 70, and I want to say probably closer to 80 now, that are setting up or have already set up. You can go to myplaceaustralia.org and click on the state, and you'll find all of the My Places in your state that you can visit. This is going to be a national network, folks. It is going to be a national community of people who help people. That's what My Place is about. We are putting the unity back in community. That's the My Place theme, putting unity back into community. Now, if you want a My Place at your place, we'd love to help you. Get a hold of Cherie at Cherie, Sheree, at VoFHQ.com. We will come on the road. We will bring our gear. We will set up a show. We'll have a fun night. We'll throw around a few interesting stories. We'll tell a few interesting truths, and we'll hopefully open a few new eyes. But if it's something that you want in your town to happen, we're happy to come and help start it with you and make sure you're introduced to the people in the national My Place team that will support you in your setup process and going forward every step of the way. As I said earlier, I'm not sure if it was in this broadcast or on the one on the YouTube, Darren and I were talking today about an Australia Day cricket match. Now, we have plans. If you are any kind of a cricketer, and it doesn't matter what state you're in, we might have to make it a state thing yet. We'll just have to see. There might be just too many My Places to run a cricket tournament. However, we do have plans, and those will become more clear throughout the year. But if you are a cricketer, then get your spikes out, get the whites washed, get ready, because we're going to put you to the test, and we might be looking for the My Place Australian Cricket Championship team come 2024. So, and we'll find a very cool place to have that game. Trust me, we have a plan. What else is going on in the world? Yes, we are trying to raise a few bucks to get on the road. We're trying to do that in a number of different ways. I don't like asking for money. I think anybody who's watched me struggle with this in the time we've been doing it is probably aware of just how much I find it humiliating and difficult. Cherie is been very good at getting me to do things, talk about memberships, make memberships, all that sort of thing. But I'm not good at it. And I'm working my ass off so that I don't have to ask you to help. We are trying to get some sponsors, but I'm a bit finicky about sponsorship. I'm a bit concerned about where the money comes from, who's getting behind it, and what they think they're going to get by sponsoring the Voice of Freedom, what sort of editorial control they might want. I can tell you there'll be none. Always happy to take sponsorship. I want to help businesses that want to help the people. And if I can do that with the Voice of Freedom as a way of relieving the burden on those folks who are kind enough to donate or to join us in membership, then I will. I don't want to ask you for money. I'm embarrassed that I have to. Mortified, in fact. So until such time as that funding comes through, and we are working with a number of people at the moment to put forward that proposal, and well, a proposal has already gone forward in some cases, and we're getting some pretty positive feedback from it. We're not getting any signing ups to it yet, but we're getting some positive feedback to it. That is my goal. I want to be this independent media service, and I don't want to beg you for the money to make it happen. It should be something we should be able to go to government for, but I don't think anybody's going to give me a grant to get in a vehicle to go around the country and start telling truth in every town we stop at. So sad, unfortunately. That leaves it to, at this juncture, you and me to try and figure out a way to get me to you. Hopefully that'll change in the days, weeks, months ahead. I have no control over these things. All I can tell you is that I'm working as hard as I can to relieve that burden on you and to stop me having to put it out there. And I'm hopeful, confident that we will find a solution for that issue going forward. But like I say, I'm fussy. I need to make sure that wherever that money comes from, it's coming from a reasonable source that aligns with what we are doing. Want to make sure that no backroom deals with the UN have been done to pass money through one hand to another to get passed to me. And sometimes some of the money we're throwing around is significant. I mean, significant sums. But make no mistake, I have the studio already. I have the equipment already. All I don't have is a way to get to you. That's the only thing we don't have. So for others who might be talking up big numbers about studios, no big numbers with studios. Got all the gear, don't need any more. Well, not at the moment. What we do need is wheels, a platform, if you like, a stage that we can take into your place, alert everybody in your town that we're there, and hopefully wake a few up, create change, build community, putting the unity back into community. That's what Voice of Freedom, and more particularly my place, is all about. And I'm so proud, so pleased, and grateful that Darren Bergworth chooses to align with the Voice of Freedom on this. It's great. We've turned into very good friends, and we both see where my place can go for the community. Darren has a marvelous vision. We've talked about it endlessly on the show, and we've talked about it for hours personally. His vision is my vision. His vision can be supported by everyone because at its heart, it is driven by heart. It is driven by love, care, and commitment to community. That's all my place is. Love, care, and commitment to community. Unity in community. We would love for you, if you have the space, to host a My Place in your town. I would love to come and meet you. I would love to see your town. I would love to help promote your town. You know, do you have touristy things? Do you have a reason for people to come through? Do you have the best bakery that does the best vanilla slice, or the best Danish or Neenish, or, you know, does the best bread? I'm a bit of a bread fan. Then let's promote that, because there are so many people traveling around this country, so many people looking to share their money in places like yours when they come to visit. Then let's give them a reason to come to visit you. Let's come and see you. Come and get the voice of freedom at your place. We'll bring to my place. Hopefully we'll leave the seed. We'll certainly leave the infrastructure and the connections for you to grow that seed. And maybe in 12 months' time, we'll come back and see how big you got. That's what we want to build. Unity in community. It's a pretty simple mantra, really. So, yeah. Now, speaking of my places, I did see Russ earlier in the chat. Russ must be in Bathurst and wants to know if there are people in Bathurst that are interested or have already set up my place. I don't believe Bathurst has been set up yet, Russ. And there are people in Orange who are also looking to set up a my place. I've been speaking with a couple. If that is, you might not be in a position, Russ, to help with a building or a property for my place to happen at, but I have been contacted in the past by people who were very interested to have at least the Voice of Freedom show come to town there. And we were going to do it around a Bathurst weekend, but I think they probably sold off whatever camping spots they had to better paying customers. At any rate, getting together with my place, I don't know who they were aligned with at the time, and I haven't heard anything from them since, I don't think. But yes, if you are in Bathurst and you want to get involved with my place, Russ is already standing up to become your first member. It's easy. All you got to do is set up a My Place, name your town, Facebook page. Go onto the My Place Australia website, go to My Place Frankston on Facebook, and check out how it's all done. Get a hold of me, get a hold of Darren, get a hold of Cherie. We will hook you up with the people you need to talk to within the My Place community to help establish you. And I would love any excuse to come to Bathurst. It doesn't have to be while there's a race weekend on, but, you know, I might like that. But yeah, I would love any excuse to come to Bathurst, to come to Orange. There's some very interesting folks living in Orange, and there's been some bullshit that's gone on there with people's businesses. Can I tell you? My God, I know some people who've been involved in a business that I once used to be heavily involved with, and were squeezed out of that business by, well, maybe that's another story. That'll be another night. Won't go confusing the issue tonight. Oh, righto, hang on a minute. Best bread in the country, the Cloncurry Bakery. Get Northwest. Yep, I hear you. I will be trying the Cloncurry Bakery 100%. I am a bread fiend. I'm pretty weird. I have a lot of weird tendencies, all right? I'm going to tell you 2 of them. Newspapers. I don't buy them anymore. For a variety of reasons. But when I did buy newspapers, if I brought that newspaper home and somebody else read the newspaper before I got to the newspaper, I wouldn't read the newspaper. I'd go out and buy another newspaper. I always had to read a fresh newspaper. Bread. I have been known to go and buy bread at the supermarket, buy all the condiments to make a magnificent, delicious sandwich, and a healthy one at that. Get home only to discover that in my stupidity, putting everything in the bag or putting whatever on the back seat, I have crushed the loaf of bread in a place. Not the whole loaf, just a place. No, got to go and get another loaf of bread. I know, weird. They're really the worst foibles I've got in that regard. So, but weird, I grant you. But I do like bread. I also like Neenish tarts, and I love vanilla slice. So that may account for the C cup size I've got. All right, enough about my breasts. On with you. What's that? Put a horn on a jellyfish, Carl. Thank you, Redneck. That's the spirit. Oh, well, I don't know that I want to be caught in Cloncurry with one of those, but anyway, there you go. Have a bit of a look over in the Rumble chat just to see what I've missed here. Happiness owns a 50-acre organic property. Kudos to you. Call me or contact me, carl@vofhq.com. Don't know what state you're in, but we have a network of people like yourself who are looking to link up. If you are interested in that, happiness to all, then please email me, carl@vofhq.com, and we will hook you up with people of a like mind to try and help. Having a bit of a glance down. Can't see too much by way of questions. A lot of people describing where they live. Isn't that nice? See, I'm looking at two different chats, right? I'm looking at a YouTube chat and I'm looking at a Rumble chat. I wish I could see the others, but I can't. It is so nice to see the community in the chat. I mean, apart from the odd troll who pokes their head up and, says stupid bloody things. But I think the moderators, for the most part, get them on YouTube. I don't know about Rumble. My place Tasmania, none currently listed. All right, I'll have to have a talk with Black Sheep about that. Pardon me. Now I'm getting all these messages about vanilla slices and things like that down in Sorrento. Actually, when we were last down in Victoria, I went to the Sorrento bakery and had a vanilla slice. So yes, can 100% agree. The vanilla slices at the Sorrento bakery, very, very nice indeed. Tasmania, my place. Work on that one, and we'll see what we can do up there. North Motton, great bunch of great community, very good prepping community up that end of the world too. I'm going to get a message to Peter Jewell. I'd love for him to come back on the show and have a bit of a chat, tell us how far they've come forward and what they're expecting for 2023. Dave, you might be right there. North Motton is a hell of a community, and I was blown away by the level of commitment, the level of organization, the level of how far they are down the road. They're very deep into being prepared for just about anything. Food security, water security, all of that's looked after. They are building a community. They don't need to call it my place, and probably rightly so, because that particular community is a preppers community. They are very serious about it. And if you wanted to join that community, I dare say you would need to go through a bit of a process. It's not for everyone, that kind of community. But my place is. And you'll find a lot of people in those prepper type communities will gravitate to my places, because they will be the people who stand up and teach you how to do things in places like that. They'll be the people to teach you how to preserve fruits like your nana used to, or your great-grandmother maybe. They will be the people who can teach you how to dry out meat and store it safely without refrigeration. They will be the people that will teach you how to build a fire out of nothing, how to get warmth out of nothing, and how to feed yourself from just about anything. So don't go dismissing prepper communities. Be committed if you're going into one. But if you've got a prepper community near you and you maybe don't want to dive that deeply into it, but you really want to join my place, invite them over. They are great folks. Expansive thinkers, and you want them in your community. They will bring unity to your community, and they will bring education. And that's what every one of these my places has as one of its part of its mantra: education. We will educate everyone as best, as often, as much as we can. So I've probably ranted enough tonight, and tomorrow we're hitting the road. Not sure which way we'll go yet. We might wind up in the middle of nowhere, and I'll if that is the case, I'll drop a little live on somewhere on the YouTube channels. It'll probably be from the phone, so I can only send to one channel off the phone. So we'll see what happens. Some big plans coming next week. Got some big meetings with some folks back in Brisbane. We're looking to expand a number of projects we're working on at the moment, and potentially looking at new ways and means of being able to help you with the equipment that we've got. So if you've got an event coming up in your town, flower festival, a rodeo, I don't know, a buskers festival, that'd be bloody great. I might be pretty interested in coming along to something like that and bringing all the gear, streaming it to the world, telling people what your little country town can get up to. We'd be very keen to hear from you. VoFHQ.com is our website. If you want to get a show in your part of the world, Cherie at VoFHQ.com is the lady to talk to. I do what she tells me all the time, and she's going to get shitty with me because I haven't had the membership ticker up for the whole show. If you'd like to become a member of the Voice of Freedom, go to VoFHQ.com. Please click on the member link and do what you got to do. You can be a member for about $1.25 a week, and there are multiple options there, whatever you feel you want to go and do. And if you don't want to be a member, but you just don't mind donating a bit, then please hit the donate button. Every cent goes to putting us on the road, to getting us to a new place to try and put unity back in community. If that's something you want to support until such time as I don't have to ask you anymore, then I'm eternally grateful for that support. And if you can't, that's cool. I understand. And maybe it's not for everyone. Sunflower, you have a wonderful weekend. You are an amazing human being, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you do for me. Aussie Sue, you too are a wonderful woman. Redneck, you and I are going to become friends, my friend. I like your sense of humor. Bill, thank you for your health advice and all the other good advice you put through there. You've all got some magnificent intel of your own, and I'm so pleased that this community in our chat rooms is polite, is nice, is encouraging, is educational. There are people who come into these chats. I don't even know if you listen to me. You're just in there talking. And I just think that's wonderful. I'm so pleased that it's coming together like this. So thank you, folks. It gives me a warm, squishy feeling inside. And well, let's face it, we're all about warm, squishy feelings at any opportunity, unless you run across one of those dickheads that's out there on the road. You know what they're like.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!